Time for some positive, uplifting news, Broncos country, by way of coaching. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I was wrong. I thought Vance Joseph was a lock for the Arizona Cardinals' next head coaching gig. It turns out that according to Dianna Russini, the Cardinals are considering 3 candidates for their upcoming head coaching position: Raheem Morris, Anthony Campanelli, and Mike LaFleur as their lead candidates. So it does appear to me, at least, that Vance Joseph is not only out of the Cardinals running, but you could make a case that he's going to stay as a Denver Bronco. And the reason I say that is because there's only 3 remaining jobs left in the NFL for head coaching candidacy. The Arizona Cardinals, who we just told you are probably, out of the Vance Joseph sweepstakes. The Las Vegas Raiders, who are zeroing in on Davis Webb. And, of course, the Cleveland Browns, after the Buffalo Bills hired Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator. So you got 3, and 2 of them are pretty much out of the running. And guess what? The Browns didn't even interview Vance Joseph. So all of this believes, or at least indicates to me, that Vance is staying in Denver. And if you needed just a little bit more as to why I believe that, Adam Schefter, who I trust, you trust, everybody trusts more than any other beat reporter in the NFL, is that Broncos defensive passing game coordinator Jim Leonard, who I thought was a shoo-in if Vance Joseph leaves to get the defensive coordinator job, is now the front runner to land the defensive coordinator position for the Buffalo Bills. So all of those things combined lead me to believe that now the tides have turned, the tables have turned. I am now like 98.5% in belief that Vance Joseph is going to stay the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. And that's a good thing. And I'll tell you why. He led or helped lead this Broncos defense in sacks in 2025 with 68. He was second in yards per game allowed at 278.2, second in rushing yards per game allowed, third in scoring, and third in passes defended. So Vance Joseph, with this current Denver Broncos defensive roster, has been excellent. Right? Like from last year to this year, the defense has been outstanding. And I don't foresee it getting any worse anytime soon. Is it realistic to think that every single year you're going to be a top 2 unit? No, but this is absolutely, no matter what, in my opinion, a top 5 unit next year, regardless of losing anybody like Alex Singleton or even gaining some in the draft. You could make the argument that next year they'll be the best defense in the NFL. I think there's a lot at play there. And Jonathan Cooper also got tongue-twisted in his press conference when asked about Vance Joseph. He literally started talking about, I'm happy that Vance blank, and then said, well, hold on, I can't really divulge that much. Here's the full quote that Coop said at his press conference. He's the best defensive coordinator I've ever had, and I'm happy that he's, I don't know exactly what to say because I don't know all that he said, but he's a great coach. It sounded like he was going to finish his statement by saying, I'm happy that he's remaining in Denver. So, and again, I could be wrong about that. I'm reading between the lines, but that's what I saw. And I don't see what job he fits in as a head coach right now out of all the ones remaining. The only one that made sense was Arizona Cardinals because of his previous involvement with the team as their defensive coordinator. So unless he takes another defensive coordinator job, it doesn't make a lot of sense that he would leave Denver. But why would you take another DC job if you've already got one of the best defenses in the entire NFL? Do you see where I'm going with this? So it does indicate to Moose that Vance Joseph is going to stay for another year and another run at a Super Bowl trophy. Before we continue on with the rest of the episode, which is going to be primarily focused on George Payton, should the Broncos keep Vance Joseph? Type Y for yes. Type your N for no. I've gone on record saying, yes, I think you should keep Vance Joseph. I would have made him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. I would have thrown a bunch of money at him and just said, we'll lock you in for another 2 or 3 seasons. But, obviously when somebody has a head coaching job on the table, you can't blame them for trying to improve their life. So coming up next, we're going to talk and move away from the coaching aspect. And we're going to talk more player acquisition. And that's positive from GM George Payton. Now, before that, though, got to tell you about my friends over at Rocket Money. I was spending a few extra hours every single month with my wife trying to allocate time and resources to managing our budget. Now with Rocket Money, I don't have to do that. And let me tell you why. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Their dashboard lays out your total financial picture, including bill due dates and paydays, in a way that is easy to digest, and you can even automatically create custom budgets based off of your past spending. Rocket Money is user-friendly and continuously saves me money every single month. I had a food app, by the way, that was on my phone that I was paying for. Haven't had it on my desktop since 2023. Crazy. Rocket Money has saved users over $2.5 billion, including $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. So, do me a favor, download the Rocket Money app today and let them help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/Broncos chat. That is rocketmoney.com/Broncos chat. rocketmoney.com/Broncos chat. All of that is going to be in the comments and description of today's video. George Payton was asked recently at his press conference as well about the Broncos' skill position groups and if that needs to get better. And here's what he said, and it's a great quote. George Payton is excellent at the microphone. I like our young players. I like our young receivers. I do too. But we're always looking to add, always looking to improve at every position. Fire me the F up, Mr. Payton. Yes, that's what we've been asking for. We can acknowledge that Courtland Sutton, despite the drops this year, is a good wide receiver. We can acknowledge that Troy Franklin had a very good year or two. We can acknowledge that Pat Bryant has got a big, bright future ahead of him. This offensive room, this offensive weapons room between pass catchers and running backs is not, excuse me, that's lunch coming up, my apologies. It's not complete. It's not complete. And then you can hear from the other areas of the press conference where George says about adding more and being, a little bit more assertive in free agency and in the draft. Here's my expectation for this offseason for the Broncos. I expect them to be adding to their offensive firepower in both the draft and free agency. I think they're going to make heavy pushes for some big-time names, not only in the NFL, but also in college football as well. Who are the guys in free agency that we've been talking about for a long time? I'll give you 4 right off the bat that are all at least candidates to join the Denver Broncos next year. Breece Hall, Alec Pierce, Brandon Ayuk, Kenneth Walker. The one out of all this that I feel like would be a little bit of a question mark is Brandon Ayuk because of his, we can call it attitude problems with the San Francisco 49ers, I think is the best way of putting it. But I think it goes without saying that we saw a lot of good things from the Denver Broncos pass catchers this year, but we didn't see a lot of great things. Now, don't let these stats deceive you. Courtland Sutton had 10 drops by himself. Troy Franklin had like 3 or 4. Mims had 1. Evan Ingram had 3. Altogether, the Broncos the Broncos pass catchers and wide receiver, including the wide receivers and tight ends, ranked second in drops in the NFL. Now, that's not a good statistic to be in. The only team that they were better than, was the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, and they went out and got Jacoby Myers to solve their woes, and they also were missing Travis Hunter at one point. So I look at the Denver Broncos as one of those teams now with the Russell Wilson contract off the books. We now are primed and primed to be one of the elite places to land in free agency. Given the defense that's already there, given we're getting Bo Nix back, I think there's going to be a lot of free agents that want to come to Denver. And if you're not convinced about getting anybody from this free agency cycle, you can always add in the draft. I've got 3 draft targets for you right here. 2 on the offensive side of the ball, 1 on the defensive side of the ball. In round 1, go with KC Concepcion, the wide receiver, the huge playmaker from Texas A&M. Jadarian Price, not the workhorse back behind Jeremiah Love, but as a Notre Dame fan, I watched every snap of these 2 play. That was the best running back duo in the country. Jadarian Price starts on 112 other teams in college football. It just so happens he played behind the very best running back in college football last year in Jeremiah Love. And Josiah Trotter, who is a do-it-all linebacker from the University of Missouri, I think can only add, youth and energy and firepower and a dual threat ability to that linebacker room that notably could be without Alex Singleton or Justin Stranad. So before we end today's episode, name a player that you want that's on the Broncos in 2026. That's a new player. So name a new player that you want to see on the Denver Broncos in 2026. A reminder that we are almost at 57,000 subs. Our goal by the end of the draft. I just talked to the bosses yesterday. We had our little exit meetings about the season. A lot of good stuff. Broncos country, all good. They were like, can you get to 60,000 subs by the end of April? So April 30th, May 1st starts. Can you be at 60,000? And I believe we can. So do me a favor, if you love the content, if you want all the off-season stuff, make sure you're locked in and hit that subscribe button. My name is Moose, a little mile-high salute. Let's have a great off-season, Broncos country. Be cool.